Hey everybody, Movie Reviewer Next Door here, and I'm back with another review. And this time, I saw Hostage High, or there's like three different titles for this: Detention, The Siege at Johnson High, or Target for Rage. This is a 1997 TV film in the um, dramatic thriller genre, directed by Michael W. Watkins, and it stars Ricky Schroder, Freddie Prinze Jr., Henry Winkler, Alexis Cruz, and Katie Wright. In this film, a former high school student, Jason Copeland, returns to his school to take his revenge on the teachers for failing him out of school. So, what did I think of Hostage High? Well, I was actually pleasantly surprised by this. I wasn't expecting a TV movie to be as effective in what it's trying to accomplish here, as it was, but I think this one, aside from some annoyances in the plot and casting wise, I actually genuinely enjoyed this. It was genuinely entertaining and actually kind of thought provoking. But let me get to the cast. Ricky Schroder plays Jason Copeland. He's a former high school student. Again, he feels like his teachers betrayed him and everything, so he goes back to the high school to kill the teachers that did it, that he deems did it, and basically holds the entire school hostage. I have not seen Ricky Schroder in anything other than the film The Champ, but that was back when he was a child. That was back in 1979. And I think he was awesome in that as a kid. Apparently, he was also in Lonesome Dove, and Return to Lonesome Dove, the TV miniseries that are pretty popular back in the day. I think he does a great job here playing the school shooter or the hostage taker. I don't think he played it over the top. I don't think he played it like a cartoon. I think he played it exactly how it should have been played, which is, yes, you can tell he's crazy, but you can also tell he's still a human. It's the best way you could play a character like this in a movie that's trying to reenact a real event. Freddie Prinze Jr. plays Aaron Sullivan. He's one of the kids that kind of is a mediator for this whole thing. I'm not big on Freddie Prinze Jr. as an actor. The only time I've enjoyed him, to be perfectly honest, is in Scooby-Doo, the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. I thought he worked well as Fred. He looks like him, he acts like him, he sounds like him. It's basically Freddie Prinze Jr. playing himself, a massive tool. But here I guess he's supposed to be autistic or something. I don't know if they're trying to go with neurodivergent, whatever the fuck term. But, he, I really, I don't know, just, his character is like, they say like, oh, he's helping his mom with her college homework, but he's also flunking his schooling, which doesn't really come back into play, but I don't fucking know. He's not great in this film. He really does let it down at many moments. Especially certain tension scenes. The tension scenes that have nothing to do with him are usually pretty well done. But when they involve him, his acting completely takes me out of it. Henry Winkler plays Skip Fine. He is a cop, kind of a beat cop. He doesn't get a lot of recognition for what he does, but he makes a bit of a connection with the shooter. I haven't seen Henry Winkler in a lot. I know he was in Scream. Interesting enough, he was the principal in Scream, and Freddie Prinze Jr. was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was a Scream, was written by the same guy who wrote Scream, and wrote a bunch of those films like Urban Legends, and other shit like that. I think he did a fine job. I have no real big issues with him. It's weird that they kind of go for humor with his character early on, But as the film goes on, his character becomes more interesting and better, and his acting is better. Alexis Cruz plays Frankie Rodriguez. He's another one of the students. The school shooter kills one of his friends, and he is hellbent on revenge. An interesting plot to try to explore in this. He did a fine job. I didn't mind his performance at all. And Katie Wright as Samantha Eckert, she's one of those characters that kind of like, at first she's like, about the main character. She's like, he's cute, but he's too weird for me. But then as the movie goes on, she realizes, oh yeah, this is the kind of guy I like. She's fine. She's also a daughter of one of the cops that are on the case. But here's the thing with Hostage High. Hostage High, or Target for Rage, which I hate that title. That's the title that was on the movie itself. On IMDb, on Letterboxd is listed as Hostage High, and on IMDb is listed as Detention: The Siege at Johnson High. So I guess I have to put all three titles in my fucking thumbnail. But here's the thing with this. This is a TV movie based on a specific school shooting or a hostage situation. Give me a second to... it was the 1992 Lyndhurst High School shooting and siege that resulted in the death of 4 people, and I think 10 people were injured. This is a really hard thing to do, because there are other movies that try to do a very similar thing to this. And let me grab them. Should have grabbed them before. Okay, there are 2 movies that do the same kind of thing, but I'll explain the differences. There is Detention with Dolph Lundgren, which is kind of specifically an action movie set in a high school. Not really a school shooting, more so like there's drug dealers trying to funnel their drugs through the school and everything. And they're using the school after they think everybody is gone, and they don't realize that these kids are in detention. Which I think that this is a alright movie, alright or decent. It needed more villains. And a lot of the time it's like the villains just have the worst aim, because you can't have them just kill the kids, because there's not a ton of kids and there's not a ton of villains. There's like 4 villains in the entire thing. So if you're going to do a Die Hard in a school type of thing, at least give more villains if you're going straight for the action. And there's also this film, which, yes, I am not going to shut up about it. This movie did not deserve the shit it got, and the people saying that it was one of the worst films of all time, because that is clearly not true. Objectively, this is not one of the worst films of all time. Objectively, there is some really good filmmaking, some really good practical effects. The fact that it has practical effects above shitty CGI, which, given the $1.5 million budget, it would have been shitty CGI. The fact that the actors give very strong performances. Isabel May in a breakthrough film role. Ali Sholatan, Thomas Jane, Rhoda Mitchell, Treat Williams is actually pretty good too, even though he's not in a ton of the film. Barbara Crampton, always nice to see her. These films are doing a different thing from this, which is why I won't fully compare them to it. I only compare them in this way because they are movies that take place inside of a school and a terrorist situation. And yes, I am labeling this character as a terrorist. Once you decide, it is domestic terrorism once you decide to go to a public school and start shooting people. No matter how much I feel for the character at certain points, he is still a terrorist. and also this character is not a child, but even if it was somebody underage doing it, they should still be labeled as such because that's what they did. No matter if, to me at least, I know some people might disagree, but yes, they're real people, but they also made the conscious decision to murder people in a public place. And a school setting is also a government-owned type of thing or government-funded type of thing. So yes, it is terrorism. Anyways, this film tries to go at that situation from a bit more of a realistic side. So you don't have the high schoolers like kicking the gun out of the guy's hands and shooting him or doing a bunch of MacGyver shit. No. This film is, again, 2 years before Columbine happened. So a lot of the things that happen in this film would most likely not happen nowadays, such as info getting out to the press and the press almost fucking up the entire hostage situation. Which, I mean, that still happens because the media doesn't know when to fucking stop. The media is so hungry to get the story out first, every media outlet, that they will risk the lives of children in order to do so. And to be honest, all of the news organizations that do that shit can go fuck themselves, and those people are you're literally Satan. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Anyways, this film, it's coming at this from a different angle. Also, given that when this shooting took place in 1992, school shootings were not a common thing. They're not nearly as common as they are nowadays. Ever since Sandy Hook happened, which, if it did happen, I don't fucking know. Ever since Sandy Hook, there have been like tons and tons, maybe not to the scale of Columbine, but still, the fact that they're happening more and more, it sucks. I wish people would stop blaming violent film and violent video games for why that's happening, because that's just not true. But scientifically not true, and these people tell you trust the science. But this film is coming at it from the angle that this character is not a monster. He's more so in desperate need of psychological help, which I do agree. Pretty much every school shooter in history has been someone who in some way has been ignored, or society has kind of shut them out. And yes, a lot of these school shootings would be avoided if the parents did more of their job. And I'm not saying every school shooter, the parents should be to blame. No. The child, or the person who did it, shoulders most of the blame because they did the action. The parents should have a bit more of a know on what their kids are doing in certain ways. Don't take away their privacy entirely, but definitely monitor them in a way that doesn't affect them that badly and doesn't make them lose their trust in you. And this film is kind of a cautionary tale for what not to do. And even then, this film doesn't paint the shooter as an all-out bad guy. And again, I don't 100% agree with it, but from what this film is trying to do, I can try to detach a little bit. And I did feel bad for the character at times. I did feel bad for him because it's almost like in the second half of the film, it's like that evil thing inside of him that did all these horrible things has kind of subsided a bit, and he's being nicer and nicer to the hostages. I don't think this film is being manipulative in what it's doing. It's not doing a whatever that fucking Kevin Spacey, Kate Winslet movie was about the death penalty. It's not doing that. It's not pulling that bullshit. It is actually, in ways, thought-provoking in how it portrays the shooter. And I think that was the right way to go, especially when you're doing this based on an actual school shooting. This is also not again, not an action movie. There's some shooting at the beginning. for the rest of the film, it is mostly a hostage film. So you've got the tension of is he going to kill a hostage? Is he going to freak the fuck out and blow up the school because he's wired it to explode? And I think for the most part, this film is very intense. The first half does get off to a bit of a rocky start. There are bits of the film where there are kind of like punk songs playing in the background while he's going around shooting people. And I do think that was a bit of a mistake. I think what would have worked better in this instance was you have music up until he starts shooting, and then just no soundtrack. All you hear is the gun going off. I think that would have worked better. I've seen some people say that the violence is tasteless in this film. If anything, they did what they should have, and they only show brief glimpses of the violence. They don't linger on it, just like Run, Hide, Fight did. They don't linger on the students getting shot. And I think they did it in the right way. I think they did it in a tasteful enough way, and I mean, you're always going to have the reviewers or people who watch these movies and they're like, oh, it's tasteless because there's violence. Like, what do you want? A school shooting movie that doesn't show the actual consequences of being killed? Like every fucking Marvel movie that you eat the fuck up? Like, a PG-13 school shooting movie wouldn't work. I'm sorry. I hate to burst your bubble, but it won't. Because then you'll say that it's not showing the true consequences, so shut up. But this film, would I watch it over Detention again? I don't know, because even though I do like this film, Detention is a bit more accessible. I've seen it multiple times because it is a very easy movie to watch. This film is, while again, it is a TV movie and it does cut some corners in terms of what characters can say, what the actors can say, and how they can convey their feelings. I think it is a better film overall, but I would probably rather watch Detention. I'd much rather watch Run, Hide, Fight because I think it does both very well in that you have a strong leading character. And again, Run, Hide, Fight at no point is trying to be fully realistic. It's an action movie. It's a thriller. Thrillers don't always have to be realistic, and it's not based on it's not based on a real school shooting, so I don't know what people's issues are, other than just the movie did something controversial and they're mad at it. Something controversial that wasn't disgusting, but whatever. Other issues I had with this film. Freddie Prinze Jr. is a big issue I have with this. When I saw his name, I was like, oh fuck. I don't like Freddie Prinze Jr. at all. Like, excuse me. Again, other than playing Fred, in the Scooby-Doo live-action movies, I don't think he's a really good actor. And, I mean, he's just a complete douchebag in real life. I really don't care about him or his girlfriend. I can't fucking think of her name. Who was Buffy, who was also in Scooby-Doo. But, Sarah Michelle Gellar. That bitch. But yeah, I don't think he does a great job here. Pretty much every student outacts him. Again, Ricky Schroeder steals the fucking show. And again, it feels like he's playing it realistic, which I think really works for something that it's a TV movie. You'd expect it to sensationalize everything. And if anything, it's one of the least sensationalized TV movies of the week I've ever seen. In that it feels like it's portraying this person as a real character. Like, as a real person. They feel real. They don't feel like a mustache-twirling villain, and I like that for this type of situation. Specifically because this is based on true events. If it wasn't, I wouldn't really be mad at it for being mustache-twirling, but they do try to make a more complex character. Another thing I would say that docks something from this film, some of the acting from some of the parents that are like, I know it's a TV movie, you don't have a ton of budget, you can't have like super talented actors in every single role, but some of the cops, the cop that's daughter is in there that's working with Freddie Prinze Jr., the one that's being nice to him, he's not good. A lot of the SWAT people don't do a good job. There's a lot of the cop actors that don't do a good job, and it does take me out of the film when they start talking because they just don't seem into it. But otherwise, I do think this is a good film. I do think this is worth your time. If you are looking for something like this, if you are looking for a thriller based on true events that is actually intense and actually entertaining without being just depressing the whole way through, then yes, I do recommend this. But yeah, that was my review of Hostage High, also known as Detention something something something, whatever. Hostage High. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And Movie Reviewer Next Door, out.